Mhm.
Welcome to Triple F, bringing life to your faith, family, and finance.
Hey, welcome, everyone, from wherever you are chiming in from, all across the states or outside of the states, or if you're listening to this on replay, we want to welcome you here to Triple F with our special guest speaker here, Mr. Eddie Bales. I'll give you a little background on him before we jump into it, but this segment here is to help and support everyone in elevating your finances, especially in this challenged time. And so we're gonna before we jump into our mission statement, let me kind of read to you a little background so you can know where you're gonna the seeds of wisdom they're gonna flow out of this gentleman's heart today, where it comes from. So Eddie Bales is a broke college student who was introduced to entrepreneurship at the young age of 20. He started his business where he helped people get equal access to justice, the system, the everyday situation without worrying about the high hourly costs through an app. Since then, he has been able to retire from corporate America, continue to grow his business as he has expanded to 40 states, several provinces, and into Canada, has created an organization that has been paid close to $2 million collectively. He's spent a great deal now coaching, mentoring, and helping others build their own business. He's married to his beautiful wife, Vanessa Bales, for 10 years, bonus parent, a parent to his 9-year-old nephew. He also hosts his own podcast, pretty amazing as well. That's not on part of the script. I just been able to experience it firsthand. Podcast Code Freedom, where he discussed codes for others to be free. Mr. Bales spends a great deal of his time in outreach ministry and has a heart to give back to others. He's currently the chairman of the board for a nonprofit, A Grace to Grow. Wow. Mr. Bales, that is a lot there to chew on, or that you are carrying on your shoulder. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit to our Triple F family?
Well, man, thank you so much, Mr. Katoa. It's such an honor to be here with you all and your audience, and I'm really honored. You have no idea, just the opportunity to be able to be on a platform like this. So always want to give back, always excited, and just grateful really to be in this position to just share with you guys today. Thanks for allowing me to share.
No problem. We appreciate you making the time. We don't take for granted here at Triple F. We, as a progressive process here, we can go to the next slide, Sherry. Okay. So as I alluded to, this is a progressive process here, Mr. Bale. This is our mission statement. It's to basically equip people in their faith, family, and finances. In this uncertain time, this last 2 years, a lot of people have experienced a lot of challenges, and our desire is to add value to people's lives by helping them reinforce their faith, build a stronger relationship with their family, and help people elevate their finances to a greater capacity. So Mr. Bale is here to be able to share his experience with you all, and we're going to dive into it and having this dialogue with some of these questions that we're going to share with you. Next slide, please. So let's jump into it, Mr. Bale. What is your business and how long have you been doing it?
Well, I'm excited to be building my business alongside you and Legal Shield. I've been involved for 19 years. I mean, can't believe it. That's like half my life.
Wow.
Next year actually will be our 19th year on October 14th. But it's just exciting. What we do is we help people get access to attorneys without having to worry about the high hourly cost. So, instead of someone paying $300 an hour, they can pay less than that a year and use attorneys the same way we use doctors. For everyday simple things, all through an app.
No, that's so awesome. I mean, you think about all the chaos and the nonsense that are happening in our society today. Whether people are, want to be vaccinated or don't want to be vaccinated, for or not. It's so good to have something tangible. They'd be able to have access to what their rights are and be able to make a wise decision that way. So awesome, man. So we're going to go here. We'll keep it moving to the next question, Joe. So what's your current state of your business now? Where could you share touch a little bit on that? And your vision?
Yeah, well, I started the business as a 20-year-old broke college student, as you read, and I was working 3 jobs, full-time in school, and I just knew I didn't want to work 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. And so I got involved with this project, worked it part-time, and it turned into a full-time income. So now, we're blessed. Honestly, right now, we're actually living on our residual income, which means that if I don't do any more new business, I can pretty much make a full-time living from the existing business that's been in place for the last, I don't know how many years. And I can't tell you the freedom that gives us is knowing that, my wife and I, we don't have children just yet, but just knowing that we're in a position where they get to start off a step ahead just because of what we've been building for a long time.
Wow. No, that's so awesome. As you share, I start to think man, I wish somebody would have introduced to me when I was 20, to be able to build something that will pay me in my 40s. You're not 40 yet, but yet you're getting residual income. Guys, there's 3 types of income you want to experience in the world. One is linear, one is leverage, and one is residual. And I can tell you, if you just have linear in your life, it's not a good thing. But leverage and residual, I've learned. I had to learn that, that those things exist. And so, just heads off to you and commend you. At 20 years old, you're able to have a long-term vision and be able to plant your flag here with Legal Shield and be able to build a residual income that you actually will to your children's children. Man, that's amazing, brother. That's amazing. We'll move here to the next question. All right, what is your defining moment? Okay, is there a moment that defined you in your business, that elevate you to your game to a greater capacity, or that got you started, that motivates you at 20 years old to jump into business?
Yeah, I had a lot of motivators actually before I got into business, and I'll try to tell the short version of the story. But my mom and dad, they were hardworking folks. My mom was a nurse. My dad was a bus driver, and they made a decent income, middle class, citizens. And it was I got a couple siblings. I got my brother, 2 brothers, and a sister that I grew up with. And so, we weren't doing bad, but, in the neighborhood, kids talk, right? And sometimes I had to get stuff from the clearance rack. And so I got talked about a lot of times for different things. Matter of fact, I'll never forget, because my dad, he used to cut my hair too. And back in the day, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but they used to call it a bowl cut. And that's where your haircut looks like somebody put a bowl over it, and then it went like that and went around.
Hey, trust me, I know that my 2 boys experienced that.
So I used to get talked about a lot. It's funny because I remember wearing Pumas back in the day when they weren't really cool. Now it's like full circle, like they're cool now. It just blows my mind. But my point is, I used to get talked about and things like that. So somebody from church actually referred me to this place where he used to go shopping, and he got me a job at 14. And so I said, man, I'm going to get my own money. I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to be able to buy whatever I want. And boy, I tell you, I felt like I was rich. I mean, imagine getting your first paycheck with no bills, really, and you could just buy and spend it on whatever you want, right? So I was able to finally get me a pair of Jordans, or I was able to go get me a nice cut. People would not, now people ask me, hey, where you get your cut at? Because it was so good, you know? And I even had a cell phone and a pager when I was in high school, when before anybody really had cell phones, right? Way back in the day. This was like 19 years ago, you know? So I was driven by that, being able to be independent, being able to be free, being able to kind of call my own shots, if you will, and not have to depend on anybody else. And so, you know, long story short, when I got to college, and there's a backstory too, because I was working at a wholesale candy place, and I would buy wholesale and then sell it retail in high school. And it was to a point where I couldn't even get to class on time because people were like hitting me up like I was a vending machine before I could get to class. So I mean, just imagine I'm walking into class with a pocket full of quarters and dollars, because I was just that guy. And so when I got to college, I started to understand the adult world and stuff. And, I also was on my own at 18 as well. There's a whole nother story to that as well. I won't take your whole podcast telling you that story.
You're good.
But I was on my own at 18. So at this point, I had that one job, but it wasn't enough because I was on my own. So I had to get 2 more jobs. But I had already had the entrepreneur bug because of what happened when I was in high school, where I started earning profits, right? I started buying candy wholesale and selling it retail and earning profits from it. So at this point, I'm like, man, I want something. I just didn't know what to do. And that's right around the time that Legal Shield was introduced to me. And it was everything I was praying for, because I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just didn't have a vehicle. I didn't have any mentorship or any coaches. And with this business, I got all of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
we can definitely end the show right here, because you just not only set it up so well, but you closed it at the same time. And I wrote down some things that really stood out to me as you share. One of them is being exposed, to being able to earn the value of earning your own money, right? It's almost kind of like how we were exposed to entrepreneurship, right? It's like, man, you can grind. You put in the time to grind. This is the return on your investment. It's truly an incredible feeling. And once you're exposed to something great, it's hard to really delete that mental picture off our head in that way. And just work ethic you develop at a young age, it really stood out to me. At the age of 20, and for you to be consistent this long. Not too many 20-year-old in today's age can hold down a job, for 2 days or 2 months, let alone 2 years. And here you are about 19 years into building something that's going to outlast you when you're no longer here. I mean, that's just incredible vision, sir. So appreciate you, brother. Hey, man, we're going to keep it going. Next question is, what are some of the success and failure that you had in business?
Well, let me start with the failures. I've had lots of failures. I'll never forget, I was doing this great presentation one day, and, people was getting started and joining our organization, and I felt like I was on top of the world at that point, and then I go home and my lights were off, and that's another long story. But I was just in a situation, in a relationship that was a little bit toxic, and my lights were off. I'm in New York at the time, and I'm in a basement apartment, which is cold. There's no lights, no heat, so I had to light candles, and I had to get 3 or 4 blankets just to stay warm. And eventually I had to move out of that situation and get to another place, but I just didn't really have a whole lot of money at the time. because I was still growing and developing and just building. I had to work on me really, really hard because I had a lot of growing to do, right? So through that process, I was waiting for the income to catch up to who I thought I was in my mind. And as I was becoming that person, I still had to go through what was happening in reality, right? And so as I went through that process, I had a lot of challenges and things from not being able to afford rent. I mean, imagine there was one point when I was renting a room, and imagine walking past the landlord because, it was a house and I'm renting a room, right? This is before they had Airbnb, but I'm renting a room and I have to walk past the owner and say, hey, I hopefully I'll have it in a couple of days because I didn't have the rent, right? So just imagine being in that type of situation and having cars break down. One time my car caught on fire. I just go through story after story after story of just all the struggles and ups and downs and challenges that I went through. But I just knew, first off, I'm just not a quitter. Like when I'm loyal to the end. That's just one of my traits. But I had a vision of what I wanted. I grew up watching MTV Cribs saying, hey, one day I could live that kind of lifestyle. But again, I didn't know how I can make that happen. And now I found a vehicle. I wasn't going to abandon that because I knew the opposite. The opposite was in corporate America. And see, when I was working that job at 14, I was working the job just because I wanted to buy some J's, right? But I saw other people who had to work those jobs. And I was like, man, I'm here just for extra money. And they're here because they have to be here. And I said, I don't ever want to be in that situation where I have to be somewhere where I really don't want to be just because I have to, right? And so all that stuff pushed me to really just want to propel in my business. And just no matter what I had to go through those ups and downs. I realized that the valley season is not forever, but also neither is the peak season. So there's never been a double night. After joy comes, after the night comes the morning, and joy comes in the morning. So, but fast forward, and I could go a whole nother hour on some of those failures. Now we're blessed to earn we've earned multiple six figures since we've been with our company in the business, and we have an organization on our team that currently already has earned a six-figure income with the business, been able to pay their house off, buying now rental properties and things like that. And just to know you had that kind of impact on somebody's life, to me, it's just life-changing knowing that, matter of fact, we have another gentleman in our organization that was able to put 3 daughters through college without having to take out any student loan debt. Right now they're getting their masters. And so just to know that you played a small part of somebody else's success, that's the part that really gets me excited. Not so much what we've done, but the lives that we've impacted.
Yeah, no, that's so awesome, man. There's so much to unpack. You share so much. And as you're speaking, I'm like, man, those weren't failures. Those were lessons. As we learn, we never fail. We just learn, right? And you learn great lessons from those failures that you were able to pivot and build something special today that's allow you and others. I think most times, people don't want to deal with what you just explained, with the roller coaster of emotions that comes with entrepreneurship. They would rather go and clock in and trade time for money and be told what to do for the rest of their lives, right? Instead of growing into their true capabilities on how God sees them versus how they see themselves. And I think that's like an identity crisis that we need to overcome as a country, period, in the process. But man, what an incredible vision to have. But I think like in the last 3 questions, that's has been coming up for me is like, man, for a young man at 20, you don't want me to explain what I was doing at 20. You know what I mean? It's like entrepreneurship was the least on my mind. Well, I was living a dream playing arena football, but there was nothing about business or entrepreneurship or personal development on working on myself to be of value, right? And man, I just commend you, brother. This incredible story.
I've always been a little bit of an old soul. So like in my mind, like for instance, next year I'll turn 40, but in my mind I'm already 50, right? And not that I'm trying to be that, but that's just where my mindset is. It's like, okay, what's the next decade gonna look like? And I have these lists and goals and things that I want to accomplish and I want to happen. And I'm already thinking like forward thinking ahead. So I've always been a little bit further ahead than many of the people who are around me. In fact, it's funny that most of my friends are like way older than me. Like I have friends that could probably be my parents, and that's kind of like, it's not necessarily I did that on purpose. It's just that I'm kind of drawn to people who have a little bit of a mature mindset, a business and wealth mindset, or just getting better. Like for me, I'm not the type to just like kick the tires and just hang out. Don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with hanging out, but like my mind is always like, what's next, right? Because if we're children of God, then we are called to be the lenders and not the borrowers. We're called to be above and not beneath, right? We're called, he's going to bless the work of our hands, so we got to put these hands to work so he can bless them, right? If I'm just staying stagnant and staying still, then I'm not giving him anything to bless. You know what I mean? So that's just where I'm at, is like, I just truly believe in abundance, and it's not abundance for me to have, it's abundance for me to give back and be more of a blessing to more people. I just think we need more kingdom people who have the finances so that we can do more kingdom things in the world.
Most definitely. Agree 110%, man. And you do have an old soul, because you just based on what you explained, you are attracted to wisdom. And I think that's what gravitates you towards older folks, is that they wisdom is like, I heard it being framed this way. It's like learning from other people's mistakes, right? Or experience. And that's what you're doing. Most people want to fail forward, trying to figure it out by themselves. And you and I both know you can't solve a problem in the same mindset you created the problem in, right? And so awesome stuff, Mr. Bell. Awesome stuff, man. I pray and wish that and hope that my kids will get it before at the age of 20. We'll get and understand the difference between leverage, linear leverage, and residual. And I know that that's a responsibility as a father for me to teach to my children.
Well, hey, they have a great example in the home, so I know they're not too far off from the tree.
I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it. Okay, so we are moving right along. Next question, Sherry. Okay, how did you overcome some of these obstacles that that you were challenged with? If you remember some, like maybe like think about one or two biggest obstacles that you had to encounter, and how did you overcome some of those things?
It's interesting that you asked that question, because I'm just now thinking, when I go back to the part where I had challenges sometimes paying the rent and things like that. So I'll never forget, first off, it's my faith. Like, my faith is strong. And those were, not only was I learning, my faith was being cultivated. Because I'll never forget, there was a time where God said, I need you to sow this money that you have. And it was like all I had, and it pretty much was the rent. And so, but I did it. I sold it, and the very next week I earned a $2,500 bonus, right? And that was like way more than what I sold, right? And so I'm only sharing that to say that, like, I had all these moments where I had to activate my faith. And also just keep on growing. So I surrounded myself with mentors and personal development and coaches and people who I was just surrounded around people who kept showing me examples that if it's possible for them, it's possible for me.
That's so awesome. I love the word that you just used, activate. I'm going through these courses and study courses, and every one of them is an activation. Like, so you read the material, then you get in this group chat with a group of people about it, and then you got to go out and apply it. You got to activate it, and it's like, no, I don't want to. I just want to do the study. I don't want to do the activation, but it forces you to grow. And in this aspect, as you share, to grow, you know, in your faith. You know, one of the things you shared earlier is it's never about the how. I think we're so consumed with how it's supposed to look versus stepping out on faith, you know, and doing it. And you couldn't explain it better than sowing that seed. You know, it's like if he's downloading to you to sow that seed, just imagine if you were in disobedience, you know, and you didn't sow it, right? And I'm not sure if the $2,500 bonus would have been there the following week. I just don't know, you know. But it's things like that when we step out in faith and not worry about how it's supposed to look, but just doing what we're supposed, controlling what we can control. It pays dividends long term. And so, awesome stuff, man.
Yes, sir.
We're coming to the last question. Oh no, we got two more. What do you think led to your success in business? What drove? What is one experience or something you encounter along the way that may have led to propelling your business to where it is today?
You know, I heard somebody say the enemy is the enemy, and that was it. It was just working on me. I heard Jim Rohn, one of my favorite philosophers, he says, work harder on your business or your career than you do on yourself. And I took that to heart because my business wasn't going the way I wanted it to. My life wasn't going the way I wanted it to. So the only thing I could really fix is me, right? Because I knew that other people were succeeding. So what do I need to do to get it to work for me, right? And so once I got better, everything started to get better around me. You know, so I really just focused on how can I get better. So like for me, I'm obsessed now with personal development. It's nothing for me to, you know, they say the average CEO reads 4 books a week. 4 books a month. It's nothing for me to read 2 or 3 books in a weekend. Just because I want to, that's why I started the podcast, because I got addicted to the podcast. Say, well, you know what? I should just give away all this stuff that I have inside of me. I got to give it away. I can't just keep it inside of me. So I've been listening to podcasts for so long. I've been reading all these books and surrounding myself around the right people. That's probably the number one thing. I even heard somebody say it's the shortcut for success. Right. And I totally agree with that, because in the beginning, I was reading books here and there. I was reading a few pages and stuff like that. But it wasn't until I really got locked into, okay, not only am I going to read this, I'm going to do what you just said. I'm going to apply this. I'm going to actually go out and do what I'm learning. And that's where knowledge, even the Bible talks about knowledge, wisdom, knowledge, understanding. You get the knowledge, you get the understanding by starting to apply some of that. But you really truly get the wisdom when you know how to apply it, when to apply it, and at the right time to apply it, right? And so I'm learning all those things from all the stuff that I'm reading, all the stuff I'm putting in me, and that's what started to get me through all those things. Because honestly, if I didn't have the personal development, I probably would have quit, right? It would have been easy to quit. It would have been easy to just say, okay, it's easier to just work, right? Get a job. Right. But because of my personal development, because of what my mind's been expanded, I can't go back. It was like I have to go forward. Going back is not an option. Like it's like burning the ships, and you got to keep going forward.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, this is so good. It's so good to unpack. But you know, when you share about you taking personal responsibility to work on yourself, and you know, I once heard Mr. Self. Oh, he always used to say it. I loved it. I stole it from him. Well, I stole a lot of stuff from him. But he said, if you defeat the enemy on the inside, the enemy on the outside can't do you no harm, right? And you know, it's so powerful to hear you take personal responsibility to creating Eddie Bales to become valuable, right? You became bigger than not just bigger as like a physical presence, but you became bigger of value, right? So that the things, I was reading the book of Mark's doing my spa the other day. I think it was 2 days ago, but he talks about that the food, we don't just survive from the food alone that goes into our body, but it's what we actually allow our heart to encounter. It's what we put in our heart. Automatically is what's going to come out. And if we put defile information into our heart, then you're going to get defiled experiences that comes out, you know. But if you put good things into your heart, and then your mind, body, and soul, I mean, you can't help but to conquer many things in your life, you know. And so that's so awesome, brother. That is, I wrote down personal responsibility because I heard that, you know, most people, they want to blame. They want to blame their job. They want to blame their boss. They want to blame their environment. They want to blame their culture. They want to blame the education level, or maybe the skin color, whatever it may be, right? But hearing you is like, man, from question number one to now, since we opened up, you have from a young age to be able to have that kind of wisdom to say, I am the captain of my ship, and if it's to be, it's up to me to make this happen. And so I just admire that, man. I'm trying to hold my emotions before I lose it because I got one more question to cover.
Well, thank you. But if I could just say this, if your problem is right here, what I started learning through personal development is that I could become bigger than my problem, right? Mm-hmm. So now I'm looking down at my problem because I got bigger, I got better. And that's what I really learned is that, two people could have the same problem, but they could both look at it differently. Matter of fact, you probably heard the story. The two gentlemen that were dumped off in Africa, one said they were supposed to sell shoes. And one said, why are you bringing me to Africa? No one here wears shoes. Send me back. And the other guy says, hey, nobody here wears shoes. Send me more shoes. and so I started to learn how to switch from being that person who said, send me back, to how can I be the one that says, hey, just send me more shoes because I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to prosper where I'm planted, and I'm going to make it happen.
So awesome. So awesome, brother. Hey, that's so awesome. Next question, Sherry. So what advice could you give our Triple F family? You know, they're listening here. If they're not only listening live, they may be listening on replay or on all of our platforms, from Instagram to YouTube or Facebook. What advice could you give them regarding business?
Well, I think I talked enough about personal development and personal growth, so I won't stay on that train, but I could probably stay on it. That's like the number one thing that rings in my head most of the time. But if I could just share maybe one other thing is have mentors. Get a mentor. You know, a mentor is like a time machine. Think about it. You can go in the future from where they were at and how they got to where they are and come back to where you are. And you can skip some of those failures by just applying what they've done, right? So get mentors, get coaches, get people who are going to be in your corner that can push you and stretch you. Because there'd be times where I would consult with my mentor, and he'd say the tough things to me. And I had to realize that I cannot conform. I have to stretch. He would say, hey, you're either growing or you're dying. There is no in between. Right. So he would say things that I just hold on to. I could quote half of the things he says. Like he says, choice is a voluntary act of being that which is preferred. Right. You know what I mean? So like when I get those things from him, I just held on to him so strong, because where else do you go to have opportunities to have a mentor or a millionaire who's willing to pour into you and teach you everything that they've done to be successful? And it's not even about the million. It's about the journey and who you can become in the process of the attainment of the level that you're desiring. So if I could just suggest one thing, I would say get a mentor, get some kind of a coach that can guide you and lead you and help you. Because to be honest with you, by ourselves, it's probably not working. So we may as well get someone that can help us and show us the way.
Amen. Amen. That's so good. You know what I admire the most about this whole interview is your humility, man. Your humility at a young age. Humility is one of the greatest attribute or qualities that someone, whose desire for more has to acquire, and your humility to seek to to seek in spite of the obstacles that may stand in your way or whatever society tells us that we can't do it, and be able to be a sponge. I mean, you are such a sponge of appreciating the people that came before you, who are sharing and guiding and directing you in the process, man. Any last word before we close out, Mr. Bale? We absolutely, on behalf of Virgil and Sherry and our whole Triple F family, we thank you and your lovely wife for who you guys are as a gift to many of us. And we can't wait to introduce this video to the rest of the Triple F family. And any last word that you want to share?
Yeah, you know, first off, it was an honor to be on here once again. Can't say that enough. I'm just so thankful. And, you know, the biggest thing, you know, I came up with a quote, you know, it is impossible to sow good seeds on good ground and not reap a harvest. So if you keep sowing, you have to reap, right? And sometimes you're going to sow and it's going to fall on stony ground. It's going to fall on a thorn. It's going to get choked up by the weeds. A lot of bad things are going to happen before it actually gets to the good ground. You know what I found is that most people stop sowing before it ever gets to the good ground. So we don't give ourselves opportunities to get to the good ground so we can get that 30, 60, and 100. So if I could just say anything, keep sowing, right? And sowing is a lot of different things. It's saying I love you to your spouse. It's not just saying it, but showing it, right? It's doing the exercise. It's eating right. It's reading the books. It's just keep on sowing good things in the good ground and let it get to the good ground. And then I promise you the harvest is coming. It has to. It's a law in the earth. It's just like gravity. If you jump off of a building, you know what's going to happen. And so if you keep sowing, we know what's going to happen, but we have to just keep sowing enough to get to the good ground.
Man, I don't have to go to church on Sunday because I've got it right here. Well, hopefully my pastor don't hear that. I am going to go to church on Sunday, but Mr. Bale, thank you so much, man. This is I'm trying to hold it all together. This is so good. I'm so proud of you, man. More so than I'm just so proud of the work you have done. I'm like at all of almost 19 years of here, and the value of who you becoming. You know, I know that you're just beginning, brother. God's going to expand your business beyond your wisdom. And so keep growing, brother. I appreciate you more than you know. Thank you for being on with us.
Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate you as well. I've always admired you from afar, and it's just exciting to be connected to you and great people like you. So again, I'm so thankful to be on the show, and I can't wait hope everyone got some value from it.
Oh, most definitely. And we're going to have to bring you back on the faith side of things because I don't know, but you sounded like Jesus today in the book of Matthew, describing the parable of the seeds and sowing. You know, most of his shares and description of parable had to do with farming, planting seeds and cultivating it. So, man, just awesome. Appreciate you, brother. Love you, man.
Love you too.
Thanks for being on.
Thank you.
All right, family, with that is it. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and subscribe. We do have a free giveaway, practical applications that you can activate at home, free ebook that we have put together, action steps of people just like Mr. Bale giving direction, like they have lived it out, right? Like you heard the mistakes that he said, I went through to get to where I'm at. Could you imagine 20 years of work and he's giving that to you? We giving that to you for free through this platform. So make sure you subscribe on our Facebook page. Also, we have our DannyCouture.com page. Just subscribe to that, and our YouTube channel as well. But we appreciate all of you guys. Hit the share buttons, invite your family and your friends. Maybe one seed that we can plant here today. Who knows? There's many Eddie Bales that are out there wondering and just needing that seed. Take care, take charge, and God bless. And we'll see you on our Takeaway Thursday next week.